What's going on, YouTube, fam? It's your boy Tony 2 times, and we back with another episode of Hood Tales, man. Before I start, be sure to tap that like button. It's free. It helps get the video out there. Definitely watch this video to the end so you can hear the full story and all the details in the case. For my day one fam, y'all already know it's all love. Thanks for tuning back into another episode. If you're new to the channel and you're feeling the content, feel free to subscribe. Definitely hit that notification bell so you can be notified every time we drop a new video. Oh yeah, feel free to share the channel with your peoples. Everybody is welcome. With that being said, let's get right into the story. For most men, when we are young and in the mix of the dating scene, we are just trying to have fun. In your 20s, for a lot of people, that's when you see what's out there, what you really like, and what you are looking for. And maybe down the line, if you find someone you are really feeling, you will make it official. Dating is always a fun thing to do. Kicking it, no strings attached, fresh and new, and for some, they leave it just like that. No commitment, nothing too serious, just two consensual adults doing them. But it's a thin line with that. You have to make it clear to the other person, this is what we doing. So try not to get your feelings too involved. But of course, when you are with a person every day, laying down, being intimate with them, it's no way around it. Most of the time, people will catch feelings. I know a lot of times for men, when we are young, we like to keep our options open, have different women for different seasons and reasons. Maybe somebody your age, you can vibe and kick it with, your fun girl, even an older woman, and which a lot of people call cougars, to cook for you, buy you things, somewhere you can go to block out the noise because she is a lot more older and stable. But while we think we are just playing the field and simply enjoying ourselves, the other person might be head over heels. And if they feel like you are playing with their feelings, things can go left real fast. And on this episode of Hood Tales, we'll be taking it to Houston, Texas, to discuss the case of a woman who felt her younger boyfriend was playing games, so she crashed out. Back in 2018, 27-year-old Samuel Edman was navigating life in H-Town. Described as fun, outgoing, and very popular around his way. Everybody rocked with the young man. He often hung out in some apartments on Houston's northwest side called Canfield Lakes. Samuel, being young and in his prime, got a lot of attention for the women in his area, including an older woman at the time, 43-year-old Latasha Marshall. Latasha didn't live in the apartment complex herself, but had friends in the area. She would often see the younger man and the two would talk. And eventually, every day, she would come around and ask people where Killer was at, Samuel's nickname, around the way. She quickly fell for him as they spent more time together. And the older woman started calling him her boyfriend and telling people they were in a relationship. But as weeks went by, it was clear, while Samuel was her priority, she was only an option for the younger man. Latasha would often hear he was seeing other women in the apartments and even had a younger lady, which some considered was his girlfriend. Feeling like her boyfriend was playing games, she texted Samuel, asking, like, what we doing? Why you playing? In which he kind of brushed her off and told her she needed to fall back a little bit. She was geeking. On October 10th, 2018, it was a regular day in Houston. Samuel was at the apartments like normal. Later that evening, Latasha pulled up to the complex and started asking people like where Killer at. I need to talk to him right now. The young man was cooling with a friend in one of the common areas in the apartments. She approached him as people heard Latasha getting loud. Seconds later, multiple shots went off from two different guns. Witnesses called Houston PD, who responded to the scene to find Samuel suffering from a gunshot wound, and unfortunately, he will be pronounced gone on the scene. His friend told police Latasha shot him. Then the friend stated he shot back at the lady as she ran away. He gave police his gun, and they went to look for Latasha. They wouldn't have to look far though. Surprisingly, she walked from one of the apartment units, gave police her gun, and turned herself in. When she went down to the station for questioning, Latasha told police she was in a relationship with Samuel for 2 months. She claimed he was jealous about her and felt she was flirting with other men in the area. She stated people told her younger boyfriend was crazy, and he confronted her, stating, "You playing with me? Now you about to find out why they call me killer." She claimed she was tired of him and started walking off when she heard 2 shots. Then she turned around, looked back, and saw Samuel holding a gun. So she shot back and then ran to a friend's house in the complex. It was clear Natasha was going for the self-defense claim, but witnesses, including Samuel's friend who shot back, painted a different picture. That she pulled up to the apartments stating she was looking for killer and told people she was going to shoot him. When people told Samuel, he brushed it off and told everybody he wasn't worried about her. One witness stated they heard her confront the man before shooting him and running. Police, having 2 different stories now, tested Samuel's hands for gunshot residue, in which the results came back showing he never shot a gun, and the only shell casings found on the scene were from the .380 Natasha turned in and the shell casings from Samuel's friend gun that he turned in as well. But the gun was given back to the man, as it was determined he shot back in self-defense. But the nail in the coffin would come when police searched Natasha's cell phone. In text to Samuel, they saw her telling the younger man stop playing with her, making threats, in which he stated, "You not about that life. I'm not worried." She also texted a friend, stating, "Yeah, I'm good. He think I'm playing with him though. I got it." A few days before the shooting, she also bought a bus ticket to New Orleans, which made police feel that Natasha's actions were premeditated. With that, she was taken into custody, charged with first-degree hit. As the case made its way to trial, multiple residents testified about what they saw and heard that day. Natasha's lawyer was still pushing a self-defense claim, but as the jury heard the evidence against the woman, including texts, the ticket out of state that she purchased before the shooting, and multiple witnesses saying Samuel had another girlfriend, they felt it was a case of a jealous woman who felt played and snapped. With that, Natasha was found guilty on all charges and sentenced to 50 years in prison. In 2025, she filed an appeal on her conviction, but I couldn't find any information on whether the conviction stands or if she got it reversed. Either way, rest in peace to Samuel. I send my prayers and condolences to his family. For men, I know we don't think that deep about dating and having fun. A lot of us can put our feelings to the side, but we forget to be clear to the people we dating at the time and make sure we tell them this not that. We kicking it, but don't get attached, especially dealing with an older woman who probably knows exactly what she wants and is looking for something a little bit more serious. I hear a lot of men who date older women say they try to control them and treat them like a son. I don't know if that was the case in this story, and I won't speculate. Instead, I will leave it open for discussion. Y'all let me know what y'all think about the situation. Leave it in the comments. And remember, we gotta succeed, not to fail, so we won't be just another hood tale. Yeah, man, crazy story. Rest in peace, that young man. I definitely send my prayers to his family. But I ain't gonna talk too much more about this one. Y'all leave it in the comments. I appreciate you if you made it to the end. It's another episode of Hood Tales. Y'all already know it's all love, fam. It's your boy Tony 2 times.
Arrest in the death of 30-year-old Joshua Donald. Now, the tables have turned for Donald's girlfriend.
She gave them information that led them to believe that this was a self-defense case, that there was use in the past, and that she had to do what she had to do in order to protect herself.
44-year-old Shanette Robinson is now charged.
It's your girl, Mrs. Tony 2 times, and I'm back with another video. In this episode of Hood Tales, let's take it to Pensacola, Florida, to discuss the 2021 case of a woman who lured her boyfriend to get revenge after she found out he was involved with her 19-year-old daughter. But before we get into this video, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. Turn your notifications on so you don't miss any future uploads. Stay tuned until the end to hear the whole story. Everything in this video is alleged. All right, let's go ahead and get into it. Joshua Donald Jr. was born January 31st, 1991 in Pensacola, Florida. Affectionately known as Josh, he was described by those who loved him as funny, warm-spirited, and genuinely caring. The type of person who could walk into a room and instantly lighten the heaviness others carried. He brought joy to those around him, not because life was perfect, but because he was determined to find laughter in between the struggles. Family was his grounding force. Friends were his extension of it. To them, Josh was a son, a brother, a father figure, and a loyal companion. And it would be one relationship, a relationship that lasted 7 unpredictable years, that would lead to the most tragic chapter of his story. Josh entered an on-again, off-again relationship with Shanette Robinson, a woman several years older than him, and over time, those close to the couple witnessed cycles of intense affection, followed by conflict, breakups followed by reunions, and emotions that escalated quicker than either of them could imagine. Police records would later reveal that back in 2018, the two were involved in a dispute serious enough that officers responded. Reports say Shanette was identified as the primary aggressor and was taken into custody. Yet, despite their history and the turbulence within it, they remained in contact, continued their relationship, and re-entered each other's lives again and again. Sometimes the people we love the deepest are the people we struggle hardest to let go. On February 26, 2021, Pensacola officers responded to Shanette's residence on West Highland Avenue. When they arrived, 30-year-old Joshua Donald was found inside the home after sustaining multiple injuries caused by a firearm. Standing outside was 40-year-old Shanette, frantic, repeatedly saying she didn't mean for this to happen, and claiming that Josh arrived unexpectedly and attacked her. From that moment forward, Shanette insisted she only acted to protect herself, but what was first believed wouldn't be believed for long. For Josh's family, the world fell silent. Waiting for answers became its own torment. The shock was immediate, but the confusion, the unanswered questions, and the attempt to understand the final moments of someone they cherished stretch on like an unfinished sentence. Holidays, birthdays, and ordinary days changed. Their memories remained full, but the present was painfully empty. The case, however, would not be resolved quickly. Meanwhile, life continued for Shanette, though not without conflict. In April of 2024, Easter Sunday, she was taken into custody after authorities say she physically confronted a deputy during efforts to break up an altercation at Inglewood Park. She was later booked on charges related to resisting and battery on an officer. It was another chapter of impulsive behavior, another moment where emotions met consequences, and another reminder of how fast things can escalate when control spills. Still, Josh's case remained unanswered. 4 years passed. The turning point came when the case landed on the desk of a new detective who looked at the evidence with fresh eyes and one persistent feeling. Something didn't add up. Detectives noted inconsistencies in Shanette's original explanation. Detectives concluded that evidence suggested Josh had been lured to Shanette's home under the impression he was picking up a stimulus check. Once inside the room, according to investigators, the confrontation that unfolded was not sudden, but planned. Forensic testing revealed troubling details in the hallway where Shanette claimed a struggle occurred. A mop bucket overturned, yet water streaked only in one direction, toward the bedroom where Josh was found, suggesting something had been cleaned. Officers found a red stain underneath the mop handle, as if the mop had been set directly over it. The new detective on the case pressed further. She re-interviewed Shanette, then looked into digital messages and phone calls made before and immediately after the incident. During the investigation, detectives spoke with Josh's uncle, known as Chunky, who revealed that days before the incident, Shanette had expressed anger and frustration, believing Josh had been intimately involved with her 19-year-old daughter. She reportedly told Chunky she had considered harming Josh because of that. Chunky stated Shanette called him as soon as she shot and ended Josh and yelled, "Chunky, I did it. I ended him." Another set of retrieved digital messages told a similar and unsettling story. Messages where Shanette expressed the idea of taking action against Josh and referenced falling out over something she said she couldn't forgive. Investigators retrieved Shanette's Snapchat message records to another friend, in which she appears to discuss taking Josh's life. 10 days before the shooting, Shanette messaged her friend saying, "I'ma just end him," and buried the bastard in his grandma's backyard at 3 a.m. In the message string, Shanette appears to tell her friend that Josh did some foul stuff I can't forgive, and that he better be glad he not in jail. These were statements that would echo heavily through the investigation. As the detective continued to question Shanette, she retracted the self-defense claim in Joshua Donald's slaying. In a follow-up interview with Shanette, investigators told her there appeared to be inconsistencies in her original statement and that the hallway scene seemed to be staged before PPD arrived the day Josh lost his life. Shanette then retracted her initial statement that Josh broke into the house, leading to a fight, saying instead they were just having a conversation. The detective asked Shanette if they were just having a conversation, then why did she take his life? Shanette stated when she saw him, she began having flashbacks of their past fights. She then told investigators that previous law enforcement reports listing her as the recipient of Josh's aggression were false police reports because she was typically the primary aggressor and Josh would lie on her behalf to take the ride to jail so she wouldn't get arrested. In the report, Shanette also explained the last time she found out Josh had relations with one of her daughters, she stabbed him in the house. However, she and Josh both lied to the police and said she was robbed so she wouldn't go to jail. After further testing, interviews, and the accumulation of evidence, probable cause was established, and in May of 2025, over 4 long years later, Shanette was taken into custody and charged. 1 month later, on June 25, 2025, a grand jury returned an indictment for first-degree premeditated actions leading to Josh's passing. She remains in custody without bond, awaiting further court proceedings. Shanette Robinson is innocent until proven guilty. Condolences to Josh's family. May his soul rest in peace. There's so much to unpack in this case. The relationship between these two people was beyond toxic. This story is layered, not simply a breakup or a conflict, but a collision of emotions fueled by suspicion, betrayal, and unresolved history. For years, Josh and Shanette circled back to one another, connected by affection, familiarity, and habit, but also by tension that simmered beneath the surface. When Shanette learned or believed that Josh had been involved with her 19-year-old daughter, those emotions shifted. What may have begun as hurt turned into rage, and what may have started as disappointment grew into retaliation. Angry thoughts left unchallenged can turn into justifications, and justifications can turn into decisions that can't be undone. Suspicion became the story she replayed. Anger became the voice she listened to, and revenge may have become the choice she acted upon. But whether those allegations were truth, rumor, or misunderstanding, her actions came with consequences she could never take back. And maybe she is aware of the consequences, but hoped she would get off on her claims of self-defense. This is why you must be so careful who you bring into not only your life, but your children's lives. Josh's family lost someone they cherished. Shanette lost her freedom and her future, and her children are now left with the emotional fallout that came from this highly traumatic situation. Two families now carry wounds created in minutes but felt for generations. When rage speaks louder than reason, nobody wins. Emotions like anger, humiliation, and betrayal are among the strongest we experience, especially when children, trust, or respect feel violated. The instinct to retaliate, to make someone feel what you felt, is powerful, but rage is temporary and revenge is permanent. If Shanette felt disrespected, deceived, or violated by Josh's alleged involvement with her daughter, the emotion she felt, anger, heartbreak, embarrassment, would have been real. But the response that follows those emotions determines the outcome that everyone must live with. When hurt becomes vengeance, when vengeance becomes a plan, when suspicion becomes a sentence, lives unravel far beyond the argument itself. If you find yourself in a moment where your thoughts are dark, vindictive, or fueled by rage, pause. Walking away may save everyone, because when feelings evolve into retaliation, the result isn't closure, it's collateral damage. Let Josh's story and Shanette's stand as a caution. Your reaction can outlive the moment. Your choices can redefine your future, and revenge may feel justified, but the aftermath rarely is. Fam, I'm going to leave the rest up to you. What are your thoughts on this story? Let me know in the comments below. Alright fam, that's it for this episode of Hood Tales. Thank you so much for watching. If this story moved you, consider liking and sharing. Subscribe for more stories like this and for the stories behind the headlines, because behind them all, our lives forever changed. This is your girl, Mrs. Tony 2 times. Until
What's going on, YouTube, fam? It's your boy Tony 2 times, and we back with another episode of Hood Tales, man. Before I start, be sure to tap that like button. Definitely watch this video to the end to hear the full story and all the details in the case. For my day one fam, y'all already know it's all love. Thanks for tuning back into another episode. If you're new to the channel and you feeling the content, feel free to subscribe. Definitely hit that notification bell so you can be notified every time we drop a new video. Oh yeah, feel free to share the channel with your peoples. Everybody is welcome. With that being said, let's get right into the story. When you grow up in certain environments where people are struggling to make it day by day, and most people in the community are below the poverty line, people tend to hold on and cherish the small things in life. The struggle most of the time brings people together, and that's where some of the strongest bonds are formed. A lot of young men in the trenches, their outlet is usually knowing no matter what, you can go outside, link with your homeboys, and if y'all don't have nothing else, y'all have each other. It becomes a brotherhood. Everybody is in the same boat. No judgment. If I need to borrow a shirt for school or eat at your house because things are tight at home. As time goes on though, and somebody from the struggle sees a bigger picture and decides they want a better life, usually there are people in community will support them in the beginning, when it's just a dream. But we all know if you become one of the lucky ones and actually start to make it out, that's when the jealousy sets in and envy. The same people you starved with start to look at you like food. You can break bread, look out for your peoples, but now the pocket watching comes in. And what some like to call the crab in a bucket mentality. Your homies side-eyeing you, people who watch you struggle to come up start criticizing what you are doing to make it, plotting on your downfall because it's not them. Boosie said it best. It be the same people you sat in a classroom with, played outside with in your hometown, if you make it out, will start hating you the most because they don't understand why it was you who made it and not them. And no matter how much love you get, success will always come with snakes in the grass. And sometimes it be the person you least expect to bite. And on this episode of Hood Tales, we'll be taking it to Montgomery, Alabama to discuss the case of a rapper who got snaked by his day one homie while performing in his own city. Back in 2013, 22-year-old Glenn Thomas had made a big name for himself in his hometown of Montgomery. Glenn, who had started rapping at a young age, went by the rap name Doe B and was taking the world by storm. But let's rewind a little bit. Years earlier, while growing up in the Cloverland apartments, Doe B, who was always a bigger dude, was called Big Glenn by his peers. His mother had 5 kids and did the best she could to provide, but it was tough, and Glenn leaned more to the streets as an outlet to cope with their situation. The area was rough, known for trapping, shooting, robberies, and addiction. He saw a lot coming up, got in trouble, and watched friends fall to the streets early on. But eventually, Glenn decided he wanted to rap about what he saw and the reality around him. As a teen, he became a part of a local rap label and music group called CMB, or Coat Block Music, named for the street they all hung on. More like a clique at first, until people in the group started to realize Glenn could really rap. Now calling himself Doe B. He would often want to go to the studio and really make tracks, when his homies thought it was just a hobby. Eventually, Doe B's music started picking up steam in the city, and his name started ringing bells. 1 foot in music, 1 foot in the streets. He would get in an incident where Doe B would get shot in the head, barely escaping with his life. He started wearing his iconic eye patch to cover up his scars. After that, he now knew he had to make it out. Always shouting out his hood and his area, Ridgecrest, where they called themselves Circle K. The city at first was behind Doe B. He was a neighborhood hero, and the people could vouch he had been through everything he was talking about, and eventually his music would catch the ear of big Atlanta rapper T.I. And Tip would travel to Alabama to set up a meeting with Doe. Feeling each other's energy and feeling like it would be a good fit, now it was becoming real. Doe B was officially signed to Hustle Gang. Now with some big money behind him and a big label, Doe B's music went mainstream, with him dropping the hit song that had Alabama and the surrounding areas going crazy. Let Me Find Out. In the video shot in his hometown, it had most of his neighborhood outside, including his day one homie, who he grew up with, Darius Thomas. The song, in which Doe B rapped about people hating on him and the petty situations that took place in every hood in America, also had a feature on there from T.I. himself, who was in the video. Now all of Doe B's hard work was paying off. Often called the Biggie Smalls of the South, his lyrics were raw, heartfelt, and real. He would rub shoulders and get features from big artists like Rich Homie Quan and take the show on the road. But with the fame, of course, comes the hate. Still reachable in his city, it was word going around that some of Doe B's homies were plotting on him, and allegedly a bag of money and jewelry came up missing. He put in his lyrics about how people were starting to hate on him, and one person in particular was Darius. It was also speculation that his homie had something to do with the missing jewelry and money, and also was mad at Doe B for rocking with other sides of the city he felt was their enemies. But Doe was trying to bring the city together and make money with everybody. With everything going on, threats being made, envy and hate in the air, his manager attempted to keep Doe B on the road as much as possible and away from home. But in December 2013, Doe was back home. Even though he was supposed to be in Miami recording with Pharrell and T.I., he decided to come back after performing on the road to do a show at home and show some love. The spot was a local joint called Centennial Bar and Grill. The whole city knew about it and was coming out, including 21-year-old college student Kimberly Johnson, who had just had a birthday and felt there was no better way to celebrate than going out to see a hometown hero. Also 20-year-old Tamnaris Hamilton, who also was a fan of Doe B. The rapper before the concert stopped by his mother's house, Miss Shirley. He told her he would be back later on and he was headed to the spot. The place was crowded with everybody paying to get in, but it was a group of men who felt they didn't have to pay because Doe B was their peoples. His homie Darius and two other men, Jason McWilliams and Taboris Mock. Tension was already high between Doe B and Darius about rumors of him trying to backdoor him and the missing money and jewelry. The rapper saw them in the crowd but kept performing. Some say the men started getting closer to the stage and started throwing up hand signs from local neighborhoods, basically letting Doe B know he shouldn't rock with the other side. Eventually, Darius and Doe B would end up face to face, where words were exchanged back and forth. Some allege Doe B mushed the man. That's when seconds later, in a crowded club, multiple shots went off. Everybody scattered. As local police were called, they responded to the location and realized it was 5 people who had been shot, including Tamnaris, Kimberly, and rapper Doe B. And unfortunately, Kimberly and Doe B wouldn't survive their injuries. Tamnaris was rushed to a local hospital in critical condition. As the news hit the community, it sent shockwaves and a dark cloud over Montgomery. The city was torn and couldn't believe the hometown hero lost his life along with an innocent young lady who was just out trying to enjoy her birthday. As police had suspects already, they went on a hunt. A few weeks later, unfortunately, Tamnaris also passed away from his injuries as well, leaving the total amount of lives gone at 3. Their mothers all were in shock, hurt, and confused, while someone would shoot up a club full of innocent bystanders. As the community mourned and pleaded for justice, the first suspect was arrested, Darius. He was charged with capital hit. Not long after, Jason was picked up, and last was Taboris. They were all charged with the same thing, but more information came out, claiming it was a shootout, with Doe B's team also shooting back, and Darius being shot in the chest. The community was mad as the victims were laid to rest, and Doe B's all-white funeral went viral, with many in attendance, including T.I. Some felt like the city should have protected the rapper better, and some felt he should have left his hometown all around the board. As the case made its way to court, Darius was the first to admit his role in the incident and that he started the altercation. He apologized to all the mothers of the victims and claimed he regretted that night. He took a plea deal for murder and was sentenced to 85 years in prison. Jason and Taboris' hit charges were dropped. Instead, they both were found guilty of 3 counts of first-degree assault, and both were sentenced to 15 years in prison. Some still feel like Doe B was the last hope for a big rapper to come from Montgomery. They feel like his loss cursed the city. Rest in peace to Kimberly, Tim, and Doe B. I send my prayers and condolences to their families. It's crazy. It be the ones who was right beside you in the beginning of the journey that if you do make it big, bring the most hate your way. Doe B put in all his music. He didn't know why his homies turned on him and hated him so much. They probably felt he owed them something. But I want to leave this one open for discussion. Y'all let me know what y'all think about the situation. And have you yourself ever dealt with hate from somebody you were once close to? Let me know your experiences in the comments. And remember, we gotta succeed, not to fail, so we won't be just another hood tale. Yeah, man, crazy story. Rest in peace to Doe B, Kimberly, and Tim. I remember earlier on when I first started YouTube, I did this video about Doe B, but it was like 3 minutes long. I ain't have all this information. I'll leave the link if y'all want to check it out. I was a rookie in the game. But yeah, I appreciate you if you made it to the end. I ain't gonna talk too much more about this one. Y'all leave it in the comments. This another episode of Hood Tales. This your boy Tony 2 times. Love, fam. What's going on, YouTube, fam? It's your boy Tony 2 times, and we back with another episode of Hood Tales, man. Before I start, be sure to tap that like button. It's free. It helps get the video out there. Definitely watch this video to the end to hear the full story and all the details in the case. For my day one fam, y'all already know it's all love. Thanks for tuning back into another episode. If you're new to the channel and you feeling the content, feel free to subscribe. Definitely hit that notification bell so you can be notified every time we drop a new video. Oh yeah, feel free to share the channel with your peoples. Everybody is welcome. With that being said, let's get right into the story. For the average person, they probably wake up every day, go punch the clock to earn an honest living. They don't break the law and they do what they have to do to stay out of trouble. That's what you would call a civilian and a law-abiding citizen. On the flip side of that, you have others that wake up every day plotting, looking for a move to make to get some money. Whatever opportunity comes their way, they are on it. It could be robbing, hustling, scamming, anything to survive. Some would consider that a street person, someone who earns their money from crime. But it's also another group of people, someone who might have a job, they go to work during the day, but for them, it's just not enough. So they also play in the streets at night, probably to get off a little bit of grass, something light, flip their work check to try to make some more money. That's what you call having one foot in and one foot out. Not to judge none of the type of people I just described, because me myself have been all three at different points in my life. But if you know anything about the streets, then you understand the wolves can tell who is in it for survival and who is in it for the extras. The way you move, the way you talk, everything is analyzed when you decide to leave your house and go into that field or the streets. Your intentions could be pure. You could be a solid individual who wants to break bread and see everybody eat. But in the game, it is cruddy, and good guys finish last. And on this episode of Hood Tales, we'll be taking it to Montgomery County, Maryland, to discuss the case of a man who owed his plug some money, but instead of paying, he backdoored them. Back in 2018, 29-year-old Joshua Frasier, nicknamed Bones by family and friends, was navigating life in Virginia. Joshua described as ambitious, a go-getter, a father who loved his 3 kids. He was getting his life back on track after serving a prison sentence for a homicide that happened when he was a lot younger. But now back in the streets, he had found a way to shake back. He had a good job as a personal trainer and was going to school to become an electrician. His main focus was to provide a comfortable life for him and his kids. Not a stranger to the streets though, and knowing a lot of people, he was able to get his hands on pretty much anything he wanted to. He knew the players and he was still in the mix a little bit. Joshua decided he would move some product just to build his money up. Nothing petty, but all weight. The drug of choice that you could never go wrong with in the DMV is smack, or boy. For those that don't know anything about narcotics, that's the drug that keeps people gnawing and leaning. It's a substance that once it hooks you, you need it to even function and to keep from being sick. Joshua would grab some weight and sell product to people he trusted, mostly individuals from prison that he did time with or that he knew from the streets. Business was jamming, trainer by day, plug by night. Of course, word traveled fast, and through mutual associates, he met a young man, at the time 24-year-old Gregory Jones from West Virginia. Gregory and Joshua would chop it up and eventually build a business relationship. The young man would cop product from Joshua and sell it in West Virginia, even in certain parts of Maryland, like Montgomery County. By February 2018, the two had been doing business for a minute. with it never been any problems. So when Gregory came up short on cash, he asked Joshua for a front. Nothing major, just enough to make some bread, come back, pay his plug, and cop his own. Joshua, trusting the young man, told him, "Alright, bet, no problem." He gave him a pack, with Gregory telling him, "I appreciate it, bro. I will pay you back in a few days." Joshua had a lady friend who he often kicked it with. At the time, 34-year-old Ashley Dickinson. She was an HR manager at a decent company. Her and Joshua were close, enough that she knew about his side business and would sometimes ride with him to make plays or even drive him to the locations. On the evening of February 15th, 2018, the two were together, just hanging out, when Joshua sent Gregory a text message like, "Yo, you got that bread?" In total, $900. Gregory stated, "Yeah, big bro, but I'm all the way in Maryland, Montgomery County." Joshua told him, "It's no problem. I need to come by and grab that." He told him to send him a location. Gregory sent him a location in Burtonsville, Maryland, a part of Montgomery County. Joshua and Ashley headed to the location, with her driving. When they got there and pulled up, he texted Gregory, who came out the cut and jumped in the back seat. After a brief conversation, multiple shots went off, and about a minute later, a car fled the area. A person walking through the neighborhood about 10 p.m. noticed a car on the curve with two people inside, looking like the window was shattered. They called local police, who responded to the scene to find a man and woman both suffering from gunshot wounds to the back of their head. The woman in the driver's seat was unfortunately identified as Ashley, and the man, Joshua. Police noticed a spent shell casing from a 9mm and took it in for evidence. A search of Joshua's cell phone showed he was coming to meet someone, but the name from the text messages was just saved as a letter, G. Police ran the phone number and saw it belonged to Gregory, but that wasn't enough to determine was the young man the shooter. Gregory had a cousin named Ty, and just 2 days after the homicides, he lost his life in a shootout outside of a club in West Virginia. At the scene was multiple shell casings from a .45 caliber, also a 9mm. Witnesses claimed Ty and his cousin was shooting and Ty got hit. When asked who his cousin was, people stated Gregory. Virginia police already knew his name was connected to the double hit in Maryland, as he was the last person in contact with Joshua. A search of Ty's cell phone revealed the night of the hit, on February 15th, his phone traveled through West Virginia and stopped in Maryland, just a few blocks away from where Ashley and Joshua was found at. The 9mm shell casing found at the club shooting was taken in for evidence, and it matched the shell casing found in the car the night Ashley and Joshua was hit. Police determined through a search of Gregory's phone records, his phone and his cousin's Ty phone pinged together the night of the hit, traveling from Virginia to Maryland, with the plan to take Joshua's life and not pay him. It was determined Gregory and his cousin were together, as Joshua texted him about the bread. He lied about being in Maryland, but gave Joshua that location and headed there so he could ambush him, thinking if the hit happened outside of Virginia, it would be harder to determine what happened. It was alleged that Ty was the getaway driver after the fact, and Ashley was shot only not to leave witnesses, as Gregory thought Joshua was coming by himself. With that, a warrant was put out for Gregory. He was later tracked down to a house in Maryland, arrested and charged with 2 counts of premeditated hit, also weapon violations. As the case made its way to trial, the jury had a lot to listen to, with the prosecutor painting a picture of a man who refused to pay a drug debt, so he took 2 lives. The evidence presented was text messages, phone records, and the shell casings. No witnesses though. The jury at first had trouble tying everything together, even with the club shooting and Ty being a suspect who was with Gregory the night of the hit. But in the end, they came back with a guilty verdict, stating Gregory seemed like the only logical suspect. As the judge got ready to sentence the young man, they stated he would never see the streets again, and he was sentenced to 2 life sentences plus 30 years in prison, without the possibility of parole. The young man's lawyer immediately filed the appeal, stating the case was all circumstantial, and the jury shouldn't find a person guilty just because there's no other known suspect. But as of now, Gregory is still serving his time. Rest in peace to Joshua and Ashley. I send my prayers and condolences to their families. 2 lives gone, over $900. But that's the cruddy thing about the streets. To a lot of people, $900 is petty money. But in that game, it's not. When it comes to survival, a person choosing their own over yours, they will take your life for $50. If they feel like it will help them survive just another day. Gregory could have simply just told Joshua, like, bro, you took off, or not answered the text messages and just kept it moving and see how it played out. But to take a life because you owe money is crazy. It's usually the other way around, with somebody looking for you and trying to get at you because you owe them some money. But now he got his whole life to sit and think about that one night over a petty debt. Joshua was on the right track, but that 1 foot in, 1 foot out game that we was talking about earlier never plays out good. And Ashley was collateral damage, nothing to do with nothing. But I want to leave this one open for discussion. Y'all let me know y'all thoughts about the situation in the comments. And remember, we gotta succeed, not to fail, so we won't be just another hood tale. Yeah, man, super crazy story. Rest in peace to everybody in the situation that lost their life. I definitely send my prayers to their family. But I ain't gonna talk too much more about this one. Y'all leave it in the comments. Definitely tap that like button if you're feeling the content. But I appreciate you if you made it to the end. That's another episode of Hood Tales. It's your boy Tony 2 times. Love, fam. I'm out.